When you've lived as long as I have, you get to see karma at work. Okay? And there is no need to actively seek revenge, no matter what happened in the past. What I found was that by going inward, doing a lot of introspection, by confronting your shadow side, confronting your past traumas, fears, anger, sadness, that is when we begin to integrate all the parts of ourselves and become whole. That's where we get self-respect and self-love. And guess what? The universe rewards you with front row seats and complimentary popcorn. So now that you've done so much work on yourself, don't you think you deserve to at least enjoy the show? What I found in my self-discovery journey is that we have to feel the pain. We can't avoid it by spiritually bypassing it or focusing on external events, external validation. It's only when we face our pain, and here is where I'm like a broken record, repeating yet again the importance of feeling sorry for yourself. It is a very important step that you cannot miss. So go ahead, feel sorry for yourself, but with an end result. Feeling sorry for yourself is just one stage. Yes, it's a very important stage, but it is only a stage for us to move forward. It's like a springboard. Well, anyway, what I found that when we confront the pain, we emerge so much stronger than before, and this is the biggest nightmare for the narcissists. You know, then they're cowards. They attacked you because you were strong to begin with, only you didn't know how strong you were. But after confronting your pain, after integrating everything, do some Jungian shadow work, you emerge so much more powerful, and that is when you watch them tremble. You know, there was once when I said to an extremely covert narcissist, I said, it wasn't to taunt them, it was I was just expressing an opinion. I said, you know, I realized that if we lived long enough, we see karma doing its work. And I was rather taken aback by their response because there was a fleeting look of sheer terror in their eyes. Of course, then I didn't know that I hit a chord, you know. Yeah, so there's no need for revenge because their fear, they are prisoners of their own fear. And that is bad enough because when they refuse to look into themselves, they're going to die prisoners. But today I want to talk about the generational trauma that just goes in a loop, repeating itself over and over, you know, carrying itself from one generation to another. I mean, I am now seeing the third generation of scapegoats. And the family dynamic is just so eerily similar. It's bizarre how similar it is. You know, it goes to show how uncreative they are. They can only repeat what is programmed in them. You know, there's no systems upgrade. It's just repetitive, one generation to another. But this time it's very different. You know, if you're a boomer or a Gen X, you know how long it took for us to just figure things out. You know, it probably took us 10 years to figure out the narcissistic family system, to figure out why we were targeted as the scapegoat or the truth teller. And when we figured it out, there was then, you know, resources were so scarce. We didn't even know where to look. So you spend the next decade trying to heal yourself because you thought you were the problem. You search online, you go for therapy, you do, you know, all sorts of spiritual rituals, you attend spiritual workshops. And then finally, you figured out that the only way out of this is in. And that takes another 10 years. We didn't even know where to look, you know. We were just stumbling along, searching for crumbs here and there, online, whatever bits of information that we can get, only to discover later that the online space is full of spiritual bypassing rituals, workshops selling performative spirituality, fake gurus selling enlightenment like cheap perfume. It masks the putrid smell underneath, but it never really gets rid of it. And then we discover Carl Jung, a breath of fresh air in the midst of commercialized spirituality. And that's where our journey inward began. So if you're a boomer or Gen X, you have spent a significant amount of your life stumbling, experimenting, and finally knowing that the only answer to get out of this system, this abusive system, is to go in, is to face the pain, to feel the pain that most people would rather bypass in the name of, this pain is generational trauma. Most of it is passed on to us by previous generations who refuse to do the work. So if we bypass this pain, if we pretend that everything is fine in the name of filial piety or tradition, or whatever you want to call it, it's very damaging to ourselves, and we'll never break this circle. I know in Asian cultures, this circle is still being perpetuated, even by the younger generations. But on the whole, by and large, the younger generation is more awake, faster. They are digital natives. Yeah? So let the Gen Z continue our rebellion and watch the system crumble. We spent decades being unsure, confused, blaming ourselves. We went through so much cognitive dissonance of, on the one hand, subconsciously knowing who we are and believing what others tell us who we are. We spent decades searching for answers, for validation, but Gen Z just picks up the phone and live streams it and gets instant validation. Oh, your mom's like that, your dad's like that, mine's like that too. Instantly they get the answers and they form a community instantly. They know all the keywords that took us years and years to find out. Scapegoat, truth teller, narcissistic family systems. All the answers are at their fingertips. So their evolution is going to be so much faster than ours. Gen Z are digital natives. They are collaborative. They value authenticity, individuality. They are socially conscious. They're resourceful. I have seen 3 generations of scapegoats and truth tellers. The previous generation was, they had rather tragic endings. My generation, we were beginning to wake up. We were beginning to figure it all out because of the emergence of the internet. We had a lot more resources and we were more defiant. The evolution is just so interesting to watch. And now this is where the universe rewards us for our hard-earned confidence, our hard-earned self-respect and self-love by letting us watch how Gen Z deals with it like a pro. If there are any Margaret Atwood fans out there, I don't know, are you a Margaret Atwood fan? Do you watch The Handmaid's Tale? Because if you do, then let Gen Z be the testaments to our Handmaid's Tale. Except this time it's going to be so different, so much more entertaining to watch. It's going to be organized, more informed. They will form an army, whereas we were working on an individual capacity. We weren't united because we didn't know of each other's existence. But Gen Z, it's an army to completely shatter and dismantle this narcissistic family system, just like the rebels are going to dismantle Gilead. If you are a Gen Z who happen to stumble on this video, there's do check out my channel. There's tons of resources there. But if you don't resonate with me, then the keywords are in the description below. Spiritual bypassing is so 2020. Look inward. That's where all the power lies. You, Gen Z, you are the testament to our Handmaid's Tale. Thank you for being with me here and for watching. I have one final message. Don't let the bastards grind you down.